What's happening? I got a message. I just wanted to say that for the people that's still in the hood, urban communities, stuff like that, you got to be very careful. Um, Living in the hood, we should be careful already. But I learned to make sure that if you're going to be surrounded with so-called friends, make sure they really are your friends. Because the way I grew up, you know, a lot of people learn it, but we are learning collectively that the friends that we had in the past were never really friends. We're learning that from nobody, but for a lot of individuals, we're learning that a lot of our so-called friends were never friends in the first place, and that's fine. It's better to learn it than to not have learned it. Because that means we're playing the same cycle. And with that said, uh, you know, I've been speaking about myself being set up in many ways to be harmed, to be victimized, and I've been realizing that a lot of my so-called friends were involved. And with that said, I want to tell you a story, right? Because it's very important we check our circle and we know if we have a friend by our side or we have a foe. Someone masking as a friend, really plotting to take us down secretly. Because there's a lot of people like that out here. Really is. They're just good actors. I remember one time, right, many years ago when I was clubbing, I went to Northampton, Massachusetts. There was a bar and club in Northampton, and I was with one of my so-called boys. You know, um, it was just the two of us. We went out to this bar, and it was a nice. Northampton's a nice, laid back spot. Kind of like a hippie town. So it's a college town as well. You get UMass is in the area. It's in Amherst, but it's also next door. But we went down to a bar in Northampton, and it's a small bar. We're chilling. We're having a drink and stuff like that. So long story short, I'm in the bar with my boy. He goes to the bar to get a drink. I'm sitting there by myself, just vibing to the music, waiting for him to come back. Then he comes back, right? He's like, yo, Rashawn, yo, check it out. These dudes over here, this group of dudes over here keep staring at you, you know? So he was telling me that these group of dudes he caught, they kept staring at me, you know what I'm saying? So I asked him to point them out so I could see who they were. And he pointed them out, and I saw the group of guys, you know, it did look like they were looking over, in my area. I mean, but I wasn't paying that no mind. I'm not easily bothered by none of that stuff. If something happens, pops off, then just something happens. I'm not going to be out here looking for you know trouble. You know, I don't be looking for trouble. Don't be looking. So I'm like, whatever. I brush it off. But after a couple of minutes of observing, just trying to just say forget it. It ain't got nothing to do with me. Probably ain't nothing happening. But I noticed that those same guys that he pointed out, right? They all moved over near me. There was probably about 5 or 6 of them. Or more. There might be. I think there was more. There was a group of them. There was a group of them, and I noticed too. But I forgot to tell you guys in the beginning when I was parking my car. Right, I was parking my car in a parking garage. Um, some of those women that were affiliated with the group, they said to me that, "Oh, you look familiar." I was like, "Well, I know I don't know. You might got me mixed up with someone else because I'm definitely not from here." So they were saying I look familiar, and they think that they know me, but you don't know me because I'm not from Northampton or this area. So, long story short, when we were in the bar and they moved closer to me, that's when I got a funny feeling. I said, let me investigate this a little further. So I told my boy, I said, yo, this is what we're gonna do, because they were, they were a little bit too close to me for my observation, you know. And so I told them, let's go outside real quick, because I want to see if they following me, you know. I want to see what happens. So let's go outside real quick, acting like we gonna go out there smoke a blunt, whatever. So we went out there, and what do you know? The next 20 seconds later, here comes those group of people coming outside, and this is when I knew. I was like, all right, something's going on here. These people were looking at me for some reason, and it's best that I figure it out. So we were standing outside, right? And when they all came out, must have been like 7 or 8, even close to 10. I'm like, God damn, where all these people come from? So I saw some people dip on the side. There was like an alleyway on the side. It's like 3 people dipped on the side and went on the side of the alleyway, and I saw the other group. People, the main group was in the front where I was at. So they basically came out when I came out. I said, okay, so they came out when I came out. So there's got to be something going on. So my boy, my so-called boy, he ended up getting worried, you know what I'm saying? So he panicked. He said, oh, we gotta call the cops. We gotta get the cops involved, because he started panicking and shit. They after you, and he started getting real frantic. So I'm like, whoa, hold on, whoa. He started panicking, and you know, just he couldn't control himself. Like I was like, he was very adamant about getting to the police. And there was a police station. Excuse me, there was a police station located in the vicinity, very close to the bar. So I was like, yo, just wait for a second. But instead of him waiting, because I wanted to observe something, I didn't want to just run off and move off somewhere. And we're in a position where we're cornered by these group of people. So I told him to just wait for a second. But instead of him waiting, he just took off. He took off, left me there. Yo, he took off. He left me there, um, in the front of the bar by myself. He went, I guess he called himself going to the police. So he left me there. He panicked. I'm like, oh, look at this dude. So I said, so let me not be here, standing here with these people by myself. So I walked over to the front, walked up to the front of the bar, you know what I'm saying? And at first I didn't know where he went. I was trying to catch up to him. He ran up to a police officer. As I was going up to the front, I just waited right in the front. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even go. In the police department. You know what I'm saying? I didn't go nowhere near them. So I waited in the front, and then all of a sudden, the dude in a tinted car pulled up, all tinted out, sat right in front of me. So I got a real funny feeling when that happened. I was like, yo, wait a minute, something's not right. And then all of a sudden, after that happened, the police officer came out with my boy, and they was talking, coming down the ramp from the police department. They was talking, coming down, and then next thing you know, all those guys from the bar that we seen that was looking at me was coming up. It must have been like fucking 15 people. So all of a sudden, the police officer said, "Is that them?" And my boy was like, "Yeah, that's them." So the police officer was like, "Yo, come here, quick!" So they was rushing over, trying to get me to come over to them, and they brought me in the precinct and stuff like that. And my boy, he must have told them some stuff. See, the thing is, right? Long story short, we got escorted by the police back on the highway, because it seems like they were in fear for our life, that these people were looking for us. So I'm trying to figure out. I'm wondering, in my boy's case, what does he know? That whole situation seemed very, very funny to me. That's why you gotta be careful of the people that you're hanging out with, because I know he knows more than what he has told me. I just, didn't, get to get him to, say it to me, but I knew.